It is another Sunday and I'm super delighted to be here with you. Last week, the Abuja school community was hit hard, and I personally was hit really hard because I had a warm personal and work relationship with one of the directors that we lost. May their souls rest in peace. So I thought that it was worth sacrificing last week's learning to honor their memories and reminisce on our own lives. So, do not forget, even though work begins on Monday, the week actually starts on Sunday. So, take a bit of time to lay out your week. Today, we'll continue with our studies, learning, discussions, conversations on specific learning disorder. And so, we'll be taking on the specific impairment of reading called dyslexia. Growing up, my elder sister, Didi, loved to read a lot. She was a voracious reader. I, on the other hand, struggled with reading. I think that I was almost the last to catch on with reading among my siblings. And I do remember periods in my life when I needed the dictionary to interpret every word that I read in order to read meaning into the passage. So it was a very, very tedious experience. Dyslexia is characterized by slow or inaccurate and effortful reading, frequent word guesses, inability to sound out words, and difficulty understanding what has been read. So sometimes you hear these children reading in a halting manner. Maybe someone wants to say purpose and goes police. So they have halted over it. They were not able, there's phonological difficulty, so they were not able to sound out each participating sound. They are not also able to see the phonological sequence in the word, and at the end of the day, the child ends up guessing the word. And at the end of the day, with all these difficulties, reading meaning into a passage becomes very difficult. So with dyslexic people, you notice a dizziness when they are reading. They actually experience dizziness while reading. There's a lot of transposition, putting in words that are not actually there, or dismembering a word and changing the syllables. And so sometimes you hear someone reading kitchen instead of chicken. You also have reversals of letters and words. And so when someone intends to read was, they actually read saw. So they have completely reversed that particular word. Or you find someone reading production in place of produce. For instance, there's an addition of extra letters that were not originally there. So you notice quite a lot of irregularities in reading with dyslexic people. And the reason why we have this is a lot of micro skills and processing difficulties. The brain of a dyslexic person finds it difficult to process phonological bits of words and language. There's also that difficulty with tracking words. And so for me personally, there are times I read then for when, there for where, what for that. I have confused the first letters of these words, and this happens a lot with dyslexic people. Or sometimes you're reading a word and the whole letters are lost on you. So I had an experience where I read a word measuration and I was reading menstruation. So things like this happen often with dyslexic people. With tracking also, you may be reading a line, midway into the line, you're reading the next line from the point where you stopped on the other line. And that's exactly how your mind or your eyes, your visual tracking, pictured that line, either downwards or upwards. You have deviated from the line you're reading and you're reading a completely different line. And at the end of the day, like I said earlier, meaning becomes really, really difficult for a dyslexic person because of all of these difficulties. So by next week, we will look at other aspects of specific learning disorder, and at the end of that, we're going to talk about the actual micro skills that are not processing in a situation of dyslexia. So share with us some of your specific learning difficulties, or some of the ones the children in your classroom are experiencing, or some of the ones your own biological adopted foster children are experiencing. So until I come your way again, do not forget to be kind to readers who are halting, who are slow, who are reading with so much effort, who hate reading, who find it difficult to pronounce words correctly, who find it difficult to understand words, who actually read words that are not even in the passage, especially as a teacher. No child wants to frustrate or embarrass themselves in the classroom, or even as a parent. Every child who is reading makes a whole lot of effort to read. Children love learning. The human brain is created to learn, and it loves learning. And that's why we're explorative. We love play because we are seeking knowledge. So when you find these difficulties in the classroom, it is not because the person is lazy. It is not because the person does not like learning. It is not because the person is careless. It is actually because there are processing difficulties that that individual is dealing with. So show a little kindness. And until I come your way again next week, be well and live your best life.